Alright, so you need a tie rod separator tool of some kind. In this case, I'm using a pickle fork, a ratchet, 18mm socket, a 18mm wrench, 22mm wrench, 21mm wrench, some big wrenches, something to remove your cotter pin. I used pliers, a hammer, optional tool and not seen also, optional impact gun, and some penetrant. So that's the nut you got to remove at the back, and then under here is the castle nut that you have to remove to take out the tie rod with your cotter pin in there, as you can see. So now this is where I had some of the problems, and we'll get to the torch after, but getting this out would not move. Now hopefully, depending where you live, it will loosen for you. What should happen is when you put these two wrenches and you give it a good turn, it should loosen. Sometimes you have to use a hammer, which I do use. You'll see that in a bit. You give it a few taps, but this would not budge. Nothing I tried would get it to move at all. So yeah, it was quite the thing to try and work with. It just would not work, and nothing I did, no matter what leverage I put in or anything, it just would not move. But you know, these things happen. You know, you got to work with what you have. So I just went underneath the car, tried to give some additional leverage. Again, it should just spin if everything goes well. I'm hitting it with the hammer now. You can't see it's a little off camera, but I am trying to hit it with a hammer to move it. I don't like doing that with open end wrenches too much, but hey, I'm working with I'm trying to work with what I can here, and it would not budge. Completely locked in place. Yep, see, nothing, not a thing. So I gave up. I said, I'll get back to you after. Let's get to this here. So I did the other side already. Normally the cotter pin, I would use a pick or something like that to try and take the cotter pin out. But the cotter pin was falling apart. It was all rusted out completely. So when I used the pliers, it would just completely break apart, which wasn't a huge deal. So the idea is, if it's like that and it's breaking apart, then fine. Just break it apart enough so that the nut could spin off of the tie rod threads, right? If you can, then you're good. If you're doing some kind of work and you're keeping your tie rod, then you know, I would probably put a drill and put it through there, or try and get all that remaining cotter pin and put a fresh one in. Since we're replacing it, doesn't really matter. So yeah, we're just gonna put our socket. I grabbed the wrong size there accidentally. Grab the right size. There we go. And I'm gonna use an impact to take it right out, and it's only done to 33 foot-pounds, so luckily it comes out, hopefully it should come out pretty easily. It did for me, as you can see here. And now some fun time. Torch stuff. I left some torch noises, because we all love torch. Do you guys like that noise? I like the noise, so I left it in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Anyways, here you just, as you can see, once I applied some heat to the threads, that thing just loosened up nice. So now I actually gave it too many spins here. What you really want to do is you just want to spin it just enough that's just slightly away from the outer tie rod. And if you're replacing the nut, you want to put some marks and count the threads. I didn't replace the nut, I used the same one there, but if you are, that's what you want to do. Now, normally give some good hits. Sometimes you're lucky, give some hits and they'll pop right out. If it doesn't, then use your tie rod separator or tie rod tool. Again, I put a pickle fork in, some hammers to the back, and it'll pop out. It took me a few minutes to do. The other side actually came off a little bit easier. It just popped out with one run. Like I pretty much had done this, and then poop, it just popped out. Makes a nice noise, kind of like a, and it just kind of lifts right out. It's kind of nice when it happens, but this one was a little more stubborn, But after just a couple goes at it, it comes right out, no problem. You see, I'm just kind of, well, you can see the little jerking from the hammer being hit and stuff. Eventually it does come out. So now that it's out, we just unscrew it off of the inner tie rod. It's just turning it. One thing I should mention to you too, when you guys are kind of doing that nut there, that same nut on the inner tie rod, do you remember that you have to turn it clockwise, not counterclockwise? Because it's spinning inward onto thread. It's actually being threaded in to get it away from the outer tie rod. So you don't turn it counterclockwise like you're loosening. You are turning it just clockwise. All right. So here, make sure you compare. As you can see, there is an R on there, indicates that it's the right side. It is actually directional. So the one that's on the passenger side is different from the driver side. So make sure you're comparing and they're looking good. I did get MOOG ones. I like MOOG. So I did get MOOG aftermarket ones. That's what I went with. That looks pretty good. Looks spot on. So here you just screw this back on. And the idea is you screw it all the way until it reaches the nut. And then you back it off. When you do that nut and you take that nut off, you don't do more than one full turn. And then when you turn this, when you turn it, it will stop, and it'll stop, pointing up or at an angle. And then you just kind of see it stops here, and then you just back it back around one revolution back, or half revolution back, whatever you need, and line it up. Now, because it was new, it was all stiff, so I did have to kind of take it, and you can see it wouldn't just go in just like that. So you just take it. Sometimes you just got to move it around a bit, and it'll go in. You'll also notice I didn't grease it. I didn't even put the grease nipple in yet, nor did I grease it up. But that's okay, not a big deal. Lots of room to work with. But do remember to do that afterwards if you have one with a grease fitting. Some of them you buy will be sealed. So if they're sealed, you don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to go. Now this goes to 33 foot-pounds. Do make sure you're torquing to the correct specifications. Now when you're torquing a castle nut, the idea is that you do it first to the 33 foot-pounds. Now once you go to 33 foot-pounds, you have to still be able to get the cotter pin through. So sometimes when it's at 33 foot-pounds, the little bits of the castle nut will block the hole. If that happens, you just back it off ever so slightly. You're talking like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of a turn, just enough to get a cotter pin through. You don't back it off too much. So it's 33 foot-pounds, less a small portional turn if needed. And you'll see what I mean there. See the bits that stick out of the castle nut? Sometimes that could block the hole. If it blocks the hole, you've got to back it off ever so slightly. Don't over torque it. Don't turn it more. You don't want to put more torque than the 33 foot-pounds. But you do want to put a bit. So I put the cotter pin in. It's actually a pretty strong cotter pin, actually. I was kind of surprised. Sometimes you buy parts these days, and even from OEM, and the cotter pins are these little dinky, flimsy ones. I mean, they still get the job done, of course, but this was a pretty good, substantial one. And the idea is you just kind of twist it. You put it through, and you twist it. And the idea is that this is supposed to lock the castle nut in place, and it's not coming out. That's the idea. But you also want to do it so that the cotter pin won't come out with vibration. So you want to twist it around. Normally I grab the pliers, kind of bend it around a bit, make sure it's as close and as snug as possible. It's a little awkward to do, but not terribly hard. Again, using pliers or something is very, very helpful here. So I just kind of bend it on it. There you go. Just going to secure, and there you can see that thing ain't coming out. Nope. Also, when you're doing it, try and position it in such a way that when you have to do it again, if you have to do it again, it will be really easy to do and pull out afterwards. All right, so now this one here, again, same thing, 82 foot-pounds, so pretty torquey. Problem is, though, of course, is that a torque wrench ain't going to go on there. And they do have certain tools that are kind of like wrenches that can torque, but the regular do-it-yourselfer is not going to have that. So just make sure you're doing it as snug as possible. You're using your two wrenches, and don't over tighten, but you do want to give it, good torque. And 82 foot-pounds it's a decent amount. So just make sure you're tightening it well, and then you're good to go. And get an alignment done too. Don't forget that. Thank you everyone for watching. I do appreciate all the support out there. Don't forget to throw a like on that video if it helps you, if you found the information useful, anything like that. Make sure to like it. Don't forget to subscribe, help the channel grow, and hit the notification if you want to see more of my videos. If you dislike the video, that's okay, no problem at all, but don't be a troll, alright? Make sure you put why in the comments. I mean, maybe I missed something, maybe I got something wrong, maybe there's something you feel better or you didn't like how I filmed. Whatever it is, put it in there. I make these videos to help people out, so I can only make it better if I get the feedback, but I need the feedback. Just don't be trolling, alright? Otherwise, if you have any other comments, feel free to do so. I answer questions whenever I can. If you want to add something on there, if you have a helpful tip that maybe I didn't cover, I didn't even know about, make sure to put that in the comments as well. I want to thank everyone, and I will see you all next video.